The elevator dropped without warning, then slammed to a violent stop between the 32nd and 33rd floors. The lights flickered, the emergency alarm shrieked through the steel walls, and for the first time in her life, the woman who controlled a billion-dollar company realized that no amount of wealth, influence, or power could open a trapped elevator. As panic tightened around her chest and the oxygen seemed to disappear with every passing second, she had no idea that the man climbing through the emergency shaft to save her carried a family name connected to the darkest betrayal her own father had ever committed, a betrayal that had destroyed an innocent life decades before. Before this unforgettable story begins, if you believe that kindness is stronger than revenge, forgiveness is more powerful than hatred, and everyone deserves a second chance, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to our channel to become part of our growing community. Celeste Whitmore had built a reputation as one of the youngest and most respected CEOs in the country. Newspapers admired her intelligence. Investors praised her discipline. Employees appreciated that she listened before making difficult decisions. Yet behind every achievement stood a shadow she could never escape. Her late father, Leonard Whitmore, had been celebrated as a visionary businessman during his lifetime, but whispers had followed his legacy long after his funeral. Rumors claimed he had stolen a struggling construction company from his closest business partner decades earlier. Lawsuits had failed because evidence mysteriously disappeared, and the ruined family eventually vanished from public attention. Celeste had grown up believing those accusations were nothing more than jealousy aimed at a successful entrepreneur. She never questioned them because loving her father felt easier than doubting him. That bright Tuesday morning began like every other. Sunshine reflected against the glass walls of Whitmore Global's headquarters while employees hurried through the marble lobby carrying coffee and laptops. Celeste had spent hours preparing for an important charity announcement. Her company was about to fund affordable housing projects across several cities, something she believed would honor her father's memory. As she stepped into the executive elevator alone, she glanced through her notes one final time, unaware that an unexpected electrical failure was about to rewrite the story of her family's past. Halfway up the tower, everything went wrong. The elevator lurched violently before grinding to a halt. The lights dimmed to emergency power. The ventilation slowed. Her phone immediately lost signal beneath layers of concrete and steel. She pressed the emergency button repeatedly, trying to remain calm, but every minute inside the cramped space made the silence heavier. She had spent years making impossible business decisions without fear, yet now she found herself trembling, trapped by a few inches of reinforced metal. Maintenance crews quickly discovered that the main emergency system had malfunctioned. Firefighters were delayed because another emergency across town demanded immediate attention. Every passing minute increased the risk of overheating equipment surrounding the elevator shaft. Building engineers searched desperately for someone experienced enough to reach the elevator manually before conditions became dangerous. A nearby independent elevator specialist named Rowan Mercer happened to be servicing another office building only a few blocks away. His company was small, but his reputation for handling impossible repairs had spread throughout the city. When the emergency call reached him, he packed his climbing equipment without hesitation and drove straight toward Whitmore Global. Few people knew Rowan's personal story. Years earlier, his father, Graham Mercer, had owned a respected construction company that suddenly collapsed after losing its largest contracts. Financial ruin destroyed their home. Graham spent years fighting lawsuits he could never afford before dying from illness with his reputation shattered. Rowan had grown up hearing only fragments about a powerful businessman named Leonard Whitmore, the man his father believed had betrayed him by secretly taking confidential bids and forcing his company into bankruptcy. Graham never taught his son to hate. Instead, he always repeated that bitterness would poison the innocent more than the guilty. Rowan remembered those words every day of his life. As Rowan entered Whitmore Global's lobby, security immediately recognized the urgency in his expression. Within minutes he was climbing inside the narrow maintenance shaft with ropes, emergency tools, and remarkable composure. Sweat rolled down his forehead as he carefully maneuvered through tight spaces where a single mistake could become fatal. Every movement required patience because forcing the elevator doors open incorrectly could worsen the situation. Inside the elevator, Celeste had begun feeling dizzy. The stale air made every breath harder. She leaned against the wall, fighting panic while reminding herself that someone would come. Then she heard faint metallic sounds above her. Hope returned as a calm voice filtered through the ceiling, assuring her that help had arrived and asking her to stay as still as possible. The rescue demanded extraordinary precision. Rowan manually stabilized the elevator before slowly opening a narrow gap through the top emergency hatch. Sunlight from maintenance lighting spilled into the dark cabin as fresh air finally reached Celeste's face. She looked upward and saw a pair of determined blue eyes focused entirely on keeping her safe. There was no hesitation in his movements, no concern about who she was or what she owned. To him, she was simply another human being who needed help. Several exhausting minutes later, Rowan secured a safety harness around Celeste and carefully guided her through the narrow opening. The climb required trust neither of them expected to give a stranger, yet every steady instruction helped calm her growing fear. When she finally reached solid ground above the elevator shaft, applause echoed from relieved workers waiting nearby. News cameras quickly gathered outside the building after learning that the city's most influential CEO had narrowly escaped a frightening accident. Reporters praised the anonymous technician who had risked his own life during the rescue. Rowan quietly packed his equipment, hoping to leave unnoticed, but Celeste insisted on thanking him personally before he walked away. During their conversation, she noticed the embroidered name stitched onto his work jacket. Mercer. The name lingered in her thoughts with uncomfortable familiarity. Later that afternoon, curiosity led Celeste into the company archives. She searched through decades-old business files until she found legal documents connected to her father's earliest partnerships. Buried inside faded folders were references to Graham Mercer. Her heartbeat quickened. She continued searching until hidden financial records revealed irregular transfers, confidential contract copies, and handwritten notes suggesting that Leonard Whitmore had secretly manipulated bidding processes years before acquiring Mercer Construction's clients. The truth struck harder than the elevator's violent stop. Everything she believed about her father's legacy began collapsing in front of her eyes. Unable to ignore the evidence, Celeste hired independent investigators to verify every document. Weeks of careful research confirmed the unimaginable. Leonard Whitmore had orchestrated a betrayal that destroyed Graham Mercer's company. Though never technically convicted, the evidence overwhelmingly proved he had used deception to eliminate his closest partner and secure enormous wealth for himself. Celeste sat alone in her office that afternoon, staring through the windows overlooking the city her father helped build. Every success she celebrated suddenly felt connected to another family's suffering. She wondered how Rowan could have risked his own life saving the daughter of the man responsible for his father's heartbreak. She requested a private meeting with him. Rowan accepted, expecting a routine expression of gratitude for the rescue. Instead, he found Celeste surrounded by old documents spread across a conference table. Her eyes revealed exhaustion far deeper than physical fatigue. She had learned everything. For several quiet moments, neither of them spoke. Rowan slowly admitted that he had recognized her last name the moment he accepted the emergency call. During his climb toward the trapped elevator, memories of his father's pain had returned with every step. For one impossible second, anger whispered that fate had delivered justice into his hands. But another memory became stronger. His father had once said that saving a life always mattered more than settling an old score. Graham Mercer believed character revealed itself not when helping friends but when helping people who least deserved kindness. Those words guided Rowan through the elevator shaft. Celeste felt tears fill her eyes as shame settled across her heart. She apologized, knowing she had done nothing personally yet understanding that inherited success often carries inherited responsibility. She admitted she could never erase what happened, but she refused to benefit silently from another family's loss. Over the following months, she made a decision that shocked shareholders, business analysts, and the entire corporate world. Whitmore Global established a permanent foundation bearing both family names. Half of the foundation's funding came directly from Celeste's personal inheritance rather than company profits. Its mission focused on helping small family-owned businesses survive financial hardship so they would never experience the injustice Graham Mercer endured. Even more surprising, Celeste publicly released the historical documents proving her father's misconduct. Advisors begged her to protect the company's image, but she insisted that honesty mattered more than reputation. Trust built on lies could never last forever. The public response was overwhelming. Many criticized Leonard Whitmore's actions, but countless others praised Celeste for choosing truth instead of comfort. Families who had nearly lost their businesses because of economic struggles received grants through the new foundation. Apprentices found jobs. Communities gained affordable housing projects. Hope spread farther than either family imagined possible. Rowan never sought publicity. He continued repairing elevators across the city with the same quiet dedication that had defined his life. Yet people increasingly recognized him not simply as the technician who rescued a CEO, but as the man who proved compassion could survive even the deepest betrayal. Months later, during the grand opening of the Foundation's first community business center, Celeste stood beside Rowan beneath the warm afternoon sun. There were no luxury stages or extravagant celebrations. Instead, local families gathered together, children laughed across the courtyard, and elderly couples smiled as new entrepreneurs unlocked the doors to offices they never thought they could afford. Celeste understood that redemption never erased history. Her father's choices would always remain part of her family's story. But she had learned that every generation receives an opportunity to choose a different path. She could not rewrite yesterday, yet she could shape tomorrow with honesty, humility, and courage. Rowan looked across the crowd and imagined how proud his father would have been. Graham Mercer had lost everything except his integrity, and in the end, that integrity inspired a future greater than revenge ever could. Before we reach the end of this journey, we would love to hear from you. Please leave a meaningful comment and tell us whether you believe forgiveness is stronger than revenge, or whether some betrayals can never truly be forgiven. As the afternoon sunlight bathed the new community center in golden warmth, Celeste quietly placed a framed photograph of both fathers inside the entrance hall. Beneath it rested a simple inscription that reminded everyone who entered that greatness is measured not by the wealth we inherit but by the wounds we choose to heal. Visitors paused to read those words every day, and many left inspired to repair broken relationships before pride made reconciliation impossible. The daughter of a man who had betrayed his closest friend and the son of the man who had lost everything because of that betrayal had transformed decades of pain into a legacy of hope, proving that kindness can outlive injustice and that one courageous act of compassion can rescue far more than a single life. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. May this story remind us all that forgiveness does not change the past, but it can change the future, and sometimes the greatest rescue is not from a trapped elevator but from the prison of bitterness itself.